A growing number of normal, everyday Americans have simply had enough of the pandemic lifestyle. Not just conservatives, not just those living in Florida, not just crazy science-hating crazies. Here is Bari Weiss, formerly of the New York Times.
No, I'm done with COVID.
Oh,
I'm done. It's like I went so hard on COVID. I
remember.
Sprayed the Pringles cans that I bought at the grocery store, stripped my clothes off because I thought COVID would be on my clothes. Like, I did it all. I watched Tiger King. I got to the end of Spotify. Like, we all did it, right? And
No, we didn't all do it.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of us did do it. And then we were told, you get the vaccine. You get the vaccine and you get back to normal. And we haven't gotten back to normal. And it's ridiculous at this point. I know that so many of my liberal and progressive friends are with me on this, and they do not want to say it out loud because they are scared to be called anti-vax or to be called science denial or to be, smeared as a Trumper.
It's exactly what happened to her. The media turned on Bari Weiss faster than a COVID rapid test. Within 72 hours, she was called all of those things she mentioned and worse. Here's Mehdi Hassan of MSNBC.
The people who should be complaining right now are our overworked and burned out healthcare workers. But no, it's never them moaning or whinging about the pandemic. It's the Bari Weisses and Bill Maher's and Tucker Carlsons of this world.
Just think about it. How dare you not wear 3 masks after 9 vaccination shots? How dare you mention all the times following science has gotten us walking in a major circle? I believe in science. I believe in vaccinations. I believe COVID is deadly. This month is the anniversary of me getting out of the hospital. I was there for 5 days. I almost died of COVID. I'm now vaccinated and boosted with more antibodies than Patton's Third Army. My statistical chance of dying from COVID right now is less than 1 in a million. Why can't I get back to my normal life? And the second you mention that last statistic, my statistical chance of dying from COVID is now 1 in a million, suddenly, as we just heard from Mehdi Hassan, you're Tucker Carlson. Sadly, that keeps many in the media from even asking tough questions. I've been in the media a while. Tucker Carlson, Bill Maher, and Bari Weiss have so little to do with each other, it's not even funny. They think so differently. But when they are all saying the same thing, it might be time to pay attention. And maybe, just maybe, the fact that they are all saying the same thing is the reason a certain group is so angry.
Nobody on the planet really wants to go through this. This is not something we're doing because it's, sexually gratifying. This is what we're doing to protect our families. Nobody wants this. I don't want it. And I think he's forgetting that people are still at risk who cannot get vaccinated. People who can't get little kids under the age of 5.
Little kids under the age of 5 need protection from what exactly? In Chicago, for example, more kids die of gun violence than COVID. Do you see Whoopi Goldberg arguing for bulletproof vests for everyone? Healthy kids statistically do not die from COVID. They do die from suicide. And among teen girls, it's up 50% because of school lockdowns, something Whoopi is oddly silent about. Don't you see there is a pandemic going on? And the pandemic means the rest of the world doesn't have to answer for a single other problem. Here, for example, is Sarah Haynes.
I may never ride a subway again without a mask. I may never go indoors to big crowds and never feel comfortable without a mask, and that's up to me to do that.
She's right. That's the whole point. She can wear a mask whenever she wants, as many masks as she wants. She can continue to hand sanitize till her hands turn red. The issue more and more Americans have is when the permanent pandemic class wants to impose all of those restrictions on us and kids, seemingly forever. Here's the former commissioner of the FDA explaining the problem with the pandemic class.
We have to be willing to relax some of these measures with the same speed that we put them in place. I think a lot of the acrimony that we have here in the United States is because we haven't prescribed clear goalposts for when we're going to withdraw a lot of these measures.
Just wait. The media will come for him, too. For all the science, for all the data, he, Dr. Scott Gottlieb, just told us the one thing we haven't heard in 2 years. There has to be goalposts for us to get back to normal. For that, we bring in NewsNation senior contributor, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist George Will. Good to see you, sir, as always. I feel like, as I've been going through this for the past couple of years, that there is a group who enjoys the power of the perpetual pandemic. You've been at this longer than I have. Am I too cynical?
No, you're not. There are some people in America like being bossed around. They like being regimented. They like the feeling that they're in a warlike situation without all the unpleasantness of war. There's no question of that. But there's a sense in which our intelligence is bewitched by our language. We commonly say, and it's healthy to say, life is priceless. We don't believe that. If life were priceless, we'd ban left turns in automobiles. For that matter, we'd ban automobiles, at least those that go more than, say, 15 miles an hour. Life is a series of often tragic trade-offs. We can't sacrifice all our children to the pursuit of pure safety with regard to COVID. Pure safety is simply a way of not thinking and making judgments anymore.
Do you think there's a group of people who, as Bari Weiss pointed out, are feared and so fearful that if they ask these questions or say what you just said, they will be canceled and ratioed on Twitter and thus are not speaking out?
There's no question. There's no question about that. But it's simply the case that we've had this experience before, Leland. Remember Prohibition when we banned alcohol?
As a matter of fact, I don't remember it, but it sounds like a terrible time in America.
It sounds like a nightmare, doesn't it? Well, in fact, during Prohibition, a third of the country didn't use alcohol anyway. So Prohibition affected 2/3 of the country marginally, basically at cocktail hour. This is different. This affects everyone all the time in the most minute measures of life. Prohibition, nevertheless, produced an enormous disregard for the law. The country simply said, we're not going to do this anymore, and they went about their business getting alcohol where they wanted it. This is happening today. We all feel the way Bari Weiss does. Bari Weiss understands, she's a big girl, that in fact the virus gets a vote, but the virus doesn't mean that we are going to have this maddening, monomaniacal pursuit of perfect safety, because that means casualties all over the place. The casualties among our children who've been reduced to virtual learning, which is almost a contradiction in terms. The problem is that we have been, in trying to deal with COVID, we've stopped learning the lesson of adult life, which is everything is a trade-off, make them sensibly.
What is it about the group of people? I understand the group of people who like to be told what to do and feel like they're on the war footing. Where is it in the media that there is a group of people who derive this power, that if you dare question the science, you are somehow an enemy of the people?
Well, it's curious. You walk around any neighborhood in sort of middle-class America, you're going to see these signs on the lawn that says, this household believes in science. I don't know what it means to say I believe in the science. Science always has contradictory messages and lots of shifting standards. The simple truth is that I think the scientists overplayed their hands. I think a crucial moment came when Dr. Fauci, who doesn't seem to know enough to refuse to answer certain questions, was asked, I believe in a congressional hearing, Dr. Fauci, should we wear masks on airplanes forever? And he said, well, maybe we should. And at that point, I think about 80 million Americans threw up their hands and said, no.
Yeah.
He's a doctor, but he's not deciding how we live our rounded American lives.
Interestingly enough, as you say, 80 million Americans threw up their hands and said no. In large part, though, you go on an airplane, most people wear masks. A couple of people get in the fight with a flight attendant over them. In Brussels, there are protests that are really eclipsing anything that we're seeing in the United States. Throughout Europe, we've seen these real clashes. In Australia, we've seen these real clashes. Does this come to America at some point over vaccine mandates?
Oh, there's no question it will come to America, but it won't be demonstrations in large squares. It will simply be broad, democratic, with a small d, civil disobedience. When people will say, you've got your opinion, I've got mine, and there are 330 million of us, and you just can't regulate us all.
The one place that you're able to really regulate things is in schools. The new governor of Virginia, Republican, ran on giving power back to parents, issued this executive order in which he said schools cannot have mask mandates. 7 school boards are suing to stop the mask optional order on the day it takes effect, which is today. Jen Psaki was asked about it at the briefing. Take a listen.
So if a parent wants to send their kid to school with no mask, should that child be allowed to go to school and be in class?
Again, what we're advising school districts on is to abide by public health guidelines and follow public health guidelines. And it's about keeping an entire community safe.
Purely from a political standpoint, is it better to be on the side of public health or of parents?
It's better to be on the side of a rounded view of life. Psaki just said, it's about keeping us safe. Safety is not the only value in life. Teaching our children that other children and that other human beings are primarily vectors of disease, that is not healthy. The idea that everything should be sacrificed to safety is an extremely distorted and, at the end of the day, inhumane view of human life.
At some level, politically, is the White House a little happy that we can now move on from COVID and that there are these other issues out in the world to talk about: inflation, Ukraine, crime in America, and we are moving away a little bit from COVID? Is it in their interest to?
Well, I don't think they really want a war in Central Europe to change the subject. But in fact, the other day, President Biden said something that indicated to me that something had changed radically. He said, you know, the federal government can't do this. This is not a federal problem. We have 50 states in this country that can have 50 different approaches to public health and 50 different equations deciding how much we value public health and how much we value the education of our children and how much we value commercial life and how much we value people having the normal social interactions that make for a healthy society, and that we are not going to sacrifice everything to anything, least of all the chimera of perfect safety.
Yeah. Good to see you, as always. Thank you. We'll leave it there. Next Monday with George Will, and always on NewsNation. We'll see you around during the week. Thank you, sir. Good to see you. Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.